Hi guys, Mrnewmobile here. Please subscribe followed by the bell. You can also keep up on Facebook, Twitter by clicking the links in the description. Apple's iPhone 13 is going to launch later this year, and reports suggest that Apple is going to finally bring in an in-display fingerprint scanner for the devices. Apple might bring back the fingerprint-based biometric authentication on the iPhone 13, but embedded on the screen. Apple has used fingerprint scanners before, but those were embedded in the home button last seen on the iPhone SE 2020. If Apple does bring in an on-screen fingerprint scanner, it will be following the larger trend of under-display fingerprint scanners that are common in Android smartphones. Besides this, the iPhone 13 is expected to retain the Face ID and is expected to come with a smaller notch. Reports also suggest that Apple might kill the charging port in some iPhone 13 models, possibly the Pro variants, making users opt for wireless charging solutions and the MagSafe accessories. The call to remove the charging port from some iPhone 12 models is not really surprising, given that Apple was the first to remove the 3.5mm headphone jack from its devices a few years ago. Apple also was the first company to remove chargers and headphones from the box. While other smartphone makers have followed Apple's moves, the removal of the charging port could be a tad more problematic. For one, it will mean that iPhone 13 buyers will have to buy wireless chargers, making the wired ones they currently possess redundant. Also, the lack of a physical port also means that users will not be able to connect the phones to a PC or Mac, something that needs to be done to create data backups, debug your smartphone, etc. And Apple has a lot of ground to cover when it comes to wireless charging. The current MagSafe solution is barely fast enough to compete with the likes of what Xiaomi and Oppo already have. The most recent version, the iPhone 12, brought a revamped design with squared-off edges when it was launched towards the end of 2020. Like the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13 can be expected to come in 4 models: the iPhone mini, iPhone, iPhone Pro, and iPhone Pro Max, with many also predicting that it will have a smaller notch and adopt a 120Hz display refresh rate for the Pro models, although those rumors have circulated for the past couple of generations. The question is, when can we expect to see it? In recent times, Apple has released its new iPhone models in September, but last year it had to contend with the COVID-19 pandemic, which disrupted its supply chain. As a result, the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro were ultimately released in October 2020, while the release of iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max was delayed to November 2020. Whether Apple will revert to a September release for the iPhone 13 remains to be seen, but it will surely want to return to releasing all of its models at the same time. What we can be sure of is that the iPhone 13 will be released sometime in the fall. The original iPhone was released in June 2007, and its next few successors were also released during the summer. However, starting with iPhone 4s, Apple released its latest smartphone between the months of September and October. iPhone SE did release in April 2020, but that model is separate from Apple's generational iPhone series. Apple has pushed back the release of an iPhone in the past due to production issues, with the iPhone X making its debut alongside the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus in September 2017, but not hitting stores until November 2017. It's unlikely the iPhone 13 will have the same issues as iPhone X, though, because Apple updated the external design of the iPhone last year, so the iPhone 13 is expected to be identical. As a result, various countries are re-entering stricter entry and lockdown rules, which may affect the production schedule of the upcoming iPhone 13. Apple was forced to move its annual iPhone event from September to October in 2020, as its factories were temporarily shut down. Apple's 2021 iPhone could face similar challenges, but it is possible that Apple has put in measures to combat the worst-case scenario in 2021. If problems do arise again, though, we could yet see Apple split the release of its models as it did with the iPhone 12. In releasing its iPhones towards the end of the year, Apple is unlike many other smartphone manufacturers. This strategy allows it to observe consumers' reaction to the latest tech released by its competitors and either implement or improve its own tech. It won't want another delay this year, although as with other manufacturers, it's a little at the mercy of the pandemic. Given that the situation is more familiar now and Apple has its own protocols in place for dealing with it, there's every likelihood we'll see the iPhone release date back in its usual slot. Apple is likely to bring back the biometric authentication via fingerprint on the iPhone 13. The only difference from the older models will be that the fingerprint will be authenticated right on the screen. Earlier, these fingerprint scanners were embedded in the home button. The last iPhone to feature the scanner was the iPhone SE 2020. The California-based company is also looking forward to killing the charging port in some iPhone 13 models, as per the report. This move is going to be initiated first for the iPhone 13 Pro models, after which users will have to switch to wireless charging alternatives. While Apple was the first company to do away with the headphone jack, and with its iPhone 12 models, the charger and headphone, removing the charging jack are a bit trickier. When Apple had done away with the charger and the headphone in the box, it had also launched its wireless charging range, the MagSafe charger. If iPhone 13 comes with a charging port, users will be forced to purchase MagSafe products, rendering their chargers useless. Apple had cited the electronic waste increasing due to the shipping of new chargers with phones as the reason behind packaging iPhones sustainably. But wireless phones will make the purchase of new kinds of chargers imminent. The iPhone 13 lineup will feature 4 devices. These are going to come with 5.4-inch, 6.1-inch, and 6.7-inch screens. 2 of these are going to be Pro models, while the other 2 will be more affordable. There are rumors of Apple reducing the notch as well. A whole lot, we're sure. Apple has been leading the smartphone pack with its own chips the last few years, and the gap is only getting wider. The A14 Bionic chip in the iPhone 12 had a 20% bump compared to the top Android chips when it released last year. In fact, the A14 Bionic still beats the brand new Snapdragon 888 chip that you'll see in most of 2021's Android flagships, and it's even beaten by the older A13 chips on some tests. Given the annual gains seen on that front, not to mention Apple's successful launch of its new MacBooks and Mini, powered by its own powerful chips, it's obvious that the new A15 chip will once again broaden that gap even further. The sensor shift optical image stabilization from the iPhone 12 Pro Max will make its way to the iPhone 13 Pro as well, along with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Along with a 47% larger main sensor, it allows for improved low-light shooting performance. Otherwise, we haven't heard about changes to the functionality of the iPhone 13 camera setup, but Mac Adakara suggests that the cameras won't stick out from the module this time around, instead of employing a flat surface covered entirely by durable sapphire glass. Bloomberg reports that Apple is testing an in-display fingerprint sensor for the iPhone 13, but it will be an additional option. Face ID will remain, as the 3D sensor is useful for Animoji and augmented reality too, not just security. In-display sensors have been hit or miss in Android phones, but Apple has a long history of waiting to implement technologies until the rough edges have been worn smooth. Whether we see it in the iPhone 13 will probably depend on if Apple thinks that has happened or not. Bloomberg, given the wider acceptance of wireless charging, and also the iPhone 12's addition of the MagSafe magnetically attachable wireless charger. Presuming Apple wouldn't give everyone a MagSafe charger in the box, it's one more thing for them to cut from the iPhone 13 package. But in all seriousness, these could be interesting tweaks, and we're curious to see how the rumors firm up in the coming. One report from Mac Adakara, having spoken to sources in Apple's supply chain, reports that the iPhone 13 design will finally offer a thinner notch. This could be accomplished by moving the top speaker. In addition, the iPhone 13 may be slightly thicker, which would allow for a larger battery. The biggest change we can expect from the iPhone 13 is that one model could feature a portless design, dropping the Lightning port and opting for charging and data transfer to be carried out wirelessly. That would be a radical change from the iPhone 12, but could also spark a move for the smartphone world to slowly ditch its reliance on ports and bundled chargers and cables. Apple already made such a move with the iPhone 12 by not including a charger with any of those phones. Bearing that in mind, it's possible Apple could introduce a way to integrate Face ID into the bezels of the iPhone 13. Last fall, leaker Ben Jeskin published a render on Twitter detailing how the system could work by embedding the entirety of the TrueDepth system and earpiece inside the handset's top bezel. Please subscribe, like the video, comment. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video. One Piece out.